Hi everybody, my name's Sam, my camp name is Freddie, and I work on the outdoor program team with the Girl Scouts of Greater Chicago and Northwest Indiana. I'm really excited today to talk to you about Leave No Trace. Leave No Trace is a way that we can respectfully and carefully interact with the world around us. And Leave No Trace was created and shared with us by the Leave No Trace Center for Outdoor Ethics. Leave No Trace is made up of 7 principles, so basically ideas or guidelines that help us interact and enjoy the world around us. When we go through these 7 Leave No Trace principles, I'll also share with you a simple and fun hand motion so that you can remember them easier. The first Leave No Trace principle is to plan ahead and prepare. You can also refer to this one as knowing before you go. For this principle, you can use the index finger of one hand and the palm of the other as if you're writing something down. To plan ahead and prepare, you want to think about where you're going and how you're going to get there. Think about if you need to register for the activity or if you need a permit to go to wherever you're going or staying. You want to also consider the weather. Do you have what you need for the day? Are you wearing the right gear? And think about the supplies you need on the way to your destination as well as when you arrive at your destination. Think about the resources that are available to you. Do you have access to water and food? Do you have access to bathrooms? And then finally, you also want to think about who else you'll see on your adventure, if there's any wildlife that you might encounter. Our second Leave No Trace principle is to travel and camp on durable surfaces. To remember this one, you can use your 2 fingers as if they were feet as you travel on a durable surface, just like this one. When you travel on trails, make sure to stay on the path. Follow any designated trail signs or route markers so that you can make sure that you stay safe and on the trail. Also, when you go on campsites, make sure you camp in designated areas so that we minimize our impact. By doing these things, we avoid trampling the vegetation or plants and wildlife that are around the area. Not only does staying on trail keep us safe by avoiding poison ivy, thorns, and potentially getting lost, but it also keeps the wildlife and the plants safe too. Our third Leave No Trace principle is to dispose of waste properly, or you can also refer to it as trash your trash. You can remember this by making a fist with one hand to represent our trash can, and then using our 3 to represent the third Leave No Trace principle as a scoop, picking up trash and throwing it in our garbage can. This principle reminds us that when we're walking places outdoors or even in our neighborhood, if we see litter, we pick it up and we throw it away where it belongs. Another thing you can do is make sure that you research for facilities that accept light bulbs and batteries and other items that can't normally be thrown away in a garbage can. When you think about recycling your waste, make sure that you check what is accepted in your area and how to recycle those items appropriately. And then the final thing, when you go camping or on primitive backcountry trips, make sure that you're disposing of human waste properly too. So this means that either you use bathroom facilities or you learn how to dig a cat hole and how to dispose of waste properly that way. Our fourth Leave No Trace principle is leave what you find. You can remember this one by using your index fingers and your thumbs to make a camera. This reminds us to take only pictures and leave only footprints. In an area, when you're outside, if you see plants or flowers, make sure to leave those growing instead of picking them. If you do have to move an object temporarily, make sure that you put it back in the same place as soon as possible to minimize impact. And then if you come across historical or cultural artifacts, make sure you leave those where they are. By leaving what we find, we make sure that we can allow other people to enjoy the environment and nature just as we did, and we can also make sure that we don't impact anything that wildlife needs to eat or use for their homes. Our fifth Leave No Trace principle is to minimize campfire impacts, or be careful with fire. To remember this one, you can use the number 5 to represent your fire, and then your other hand represents the fire ring. So when we're careful with fire, before you even think about starting a fire, you want to make sure that you have an adult, a designated fire area, and a way to put out your fire. You should also consider, do you actually need a fire, and is it safe to make one? When you make a fire, make sure that you never make one bigger than you need it to be, and that you never leave it unattended. You want to make sure the fire is always completely out before you leave the area. Also, make sure you consider your personal safety. So put your hair up, make sure you have no loose clothing, and make sure that you also always walk around our fire. Our sixth Leave No Trace principle is to respect wildlife. You can remember this one by holding up 3 fingers on each hand and holding them behind your head just like antlers. To respect wildlife, we want to make sure that we leave animal homes like dens and nests alone. We want to make sure to give them plenty of distance. Same thing if you see an animal, make sure that you give them plenty of distance, especially young animals. We as humans have very strong smells that can scare animals away from their homes or from getting the care that they need. If you are in an area with animals, make sure you know what kind of animals are in the area so you know how to behave if you encounter them. If you want to enjoy animals, make sure that you watch them from a distance, and if you want to, you can take pictures, but make sure there's no flash. You also want to make sure that any garbage you have or food waste gets packed away appropriately so that animals can't get into it, because it can make them sick or they can become reliant on the food that's not good for them. Our seventh Leave No Trace principle is to be considerate of other visitors. To remember this one, we can use 5 fingers as if we're waving and 2 fingers for the peace sign. To be considerate of other visitors, we want to make sure that if we're playing music, we keep it low, and that when we talk or sing out loud, that we're being respectful of other people around us. Make sure you also keep your pets on a leash if you have one, and that when you're walking or hiking on a trail, that you stay to the right so other people can pass you on the left. Now that we've learned all 7 Leave No Trace principles, let's review. We had number 1, plan ahead and prepare. Number 2, travel and camp on durable surfaces. Number 3, dispose of waste properly. Number 4, leave what you find. Number 5, minimize campfire impacts. Number 6, respect wildlife. Number 7, be considerate of other visitors. Now that we've reviewed all 7 and you have some examples of ways that you could practice Leave No Trace both in your outdoor adventures and everyday life, we challenge you to figure out other ways to practice your Leave No Trace principles anytime you're outside. Thanks so much for joining me today to talk about Leave No Trace.